the gross was about 28 million.
Wow, 28 million in 2020.
In 2020.
We're in Houston right now, walking our new 56-unit crazy property here. It starts down there.
We got Allon Avgi, billion-dollar man.
Welcome to the podcast, Bhargav Patel, founder and CEO of IQM, a media company around politicians. I've known you for a while now. We met at a furniture store back when I worked at my mom's place. And back then you had CoSire. I've been following the journey. Some awesome businesses started up through you and your partner, Chris. And now you're here. Please tell everyone about IQM. Introduce yourself. Let's get started.
Oh, my God. It's first time experience for me to be on the podcast. But it's your push that drags me to be here. I have never done this kind of podcast ever before in my life. So the journey has been difficult from CoSire to IQM, and then, many more failures in between as a startups, because, in the startup it's 0 to 1. You have to, go from 0 to 0, as well as, there are chances that you get where you become 0 to 1. And I think, the dynamics of, me and Chris working together for so long for the same goal of our life, we made IQM happen. And I'm, very proud of my partner, Chris Q. I have known Allon for a while. I'm trying to figure out how we can work together as well.
Hell yeah. So talk about IQM. Before we go back into the history, what is IQM?
So IQM is a media buying platform. So we primarily work with political parties, issue advocacy clients, and their media agencies. So they basically get all the data of the voter analysis and run ads on our platform. And we provide them the tools that enables them to track the ads outcome, as well as the consumer behavior, which will improve their chances of winning in the election or getting their agenda in a positive manner in front of the audience that they're trying to reach.
Got it. Super specific demographic you're targeting. You're targeting, not your clients, right? You're targeting politicians running a campaign, real time, correct? Yes. So how many clients could you have at any given time?
We run, on an average basis, 4,000 to 6,000 campaigns on the platform.
A year.
Always it's on, right? So during the, like a heavy election time, so 2022 will be a big year for us. We'll be running, anywhere between 20 to 40,000 campaigns.
But wait, is it like a campaign, like one man could have 20 campaigns?
No. So I'm talking about, like one independent individual or an entity. So that individual or entity could be, like a supporter of a candidate. That could be an entity. And, those are specified and classified as, PACs or super PACs or, the supporters of the candidate as well. And, they use our technology and platform to, amplify the reach that a politician would want to have, or an issue, an agenda that wants to grow their voice of share. They would use our platform.
I didn't know that. So your clientele is more than just a politician.
Yes.
The people that back the politician, the community, and then they run campaigns. Yes. But now, so one campaign is one client. Or can one client have 10 campaigns?
One client could have multiple campaigns, but on the platform we run it all together. So it's a real-time bidding platform. So like as and when the user is using their phone, or like watching TV, or browsing through their computer, at that moment there is a request coming to our server asking us to bid and run an ad on it, and there are companies like us bidding for that ad space, and whoever bids the highest for that ad space for that device to that consumer will win and serve ads to that user in real time. And all this happens under 50 milliseconds.
Wow.
And, we do these type of auctions per second, anywhere between 200,000 to a million, any time of the day.
Wow. That's awesome. So it's really fast. So you're using, so it's all technology based. Everything's backed by tech. So you have a small team, lots of tech.
Yes, like majority of our teammates are techies, right?
Okay.
So we have a globally team of 50 engineers, and we have a team in the US. The business folks are about 15 here in the US.
15 in the US, the rest are outsourced, around 35. Got it. Yeah. Now, how many politicians at any given time are on the platform? Like, there's 20,000 campaigns running. How many politicians is that for?
I would say, we have a 80% market share when it comes to, campaigns running ads. So they would use Google for their Google ads, Facebook for the social media ads, and IQM for all the digital media buy. So,
What I mean is, like, if there's like a presidential campaign, right? Those are two guys or a girl and a guy. So how many campaigns are running for that guy and girl or whatever?
For one candidate or, someone who's running for president.
Yeah. How many candidates exactly?
Oh, so you mean, how many total candidates?
What do you have on the platform at any given time?
I think roughly it ranges, right? Because the race is sometime it ends early, someone drops out, right? So, imagine, Mike Bloomberg at one point was running campaign and then he drops out, right? Then the campaign ends, right? So
and the super PACs and everything ends.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to quantify how many candidate itself will be on the platform because, you will have someone who's backing that particular politician for political issues, and whether that candidate has stopped their journey, they will switch the budget and go to another candidate who's from the same party working toward the same agendas.
Wow,
so
that's fascinating. So
the campaign continues.
Got it.
The people change.
Yeah, and the budget doesn't usually diminish because they allocate those funds to the
somebody else, because end of the day it's for the presidential races somebody has to win, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes as you get closer to the day of election, there is more and more ad spend, and you may be experiencing beginning of November you have a lot more political ads that you see across all the media platforms that you consume your content.
Wow, that's awesome. So interesting. And I know you're a smart guy. I've known you for a long time. I don't know how long it's been now, maybe 5 years since I've known you?
More than that. Like, we started IQM back in 2013 and...
No way.
13 or 14, yeah.
So I've known you since the Co-Sire days.
Yeah, which is like 2012 or 11.
Wow.
I think during that time you were in high school playing football. Not football, wrestling.
Yeah. Wow, it's been so long. And I remember back then we were talking back and forth, and you were like, you were so 0 to 1 focused, like Peter Thiel style, 0 to 1. You want to scale something fast and own market share. Is that why you started IQM, to own market share?
So startup is, like innovation on day-to-day basis, and, whether you're innovating a product or services or strategies, right? So in our case, we started off with innovation in products, then, we grew ourselves, innovated within ourselves, built services around the product, and now, like focusing on one vertical, giving us a strategy innovation where we are, focused more on, just one vertical, innovating, within that one vertical and trying to scale our way up in that one vertical, at the same time building strategies to replicate our success in other verticals as well. So, like 2022 and beyond, we are also looking at markets like healthcare, where we can apply our expertise, our platform, our data, and how we can, like tap into that vertical.
But I'm
you know.
assuming you're going to have a real specific vertical within healthcare.
Yes. So, I think, focusing on one vertical or one specific use case gives our platform the right type of data it requires to perform better than others, because there are platforms out there competing with what we do, but they are more generic platforms, right? So you can run ads on platforms like Trade Desk, who's one of our competitor.
They're huge.
It's a listed company, about
Yeah.
35 $36 billion market cap.
Yeah.
Grew rapidly since I've known them. There are other platforms like Centro, who's a privately held company, MediaMath, another privately held company. MediaMath.
That's that's funny.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
They claim to be the first demand side platform in the marketplace, and I would say they are one of the oldest one in the marketplace as well. So there are companies similar to us in the space and do what we do. But I think where we differentiate against them is our laser focus in one specific use case, where we gather more intelligence about customer, about the outcome of our customer, and try to deliver the better result for our customer. And that's why I think over the past 5 years, like I would say our retention rate with the customer is over 90%.
Wow.
Because those who started using the platform 5-6 years ago, they're still our customer, and we are keep on growing our customer base 2x year over year.
Wow. So correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is your hyper focus in that specific space gave you the best data possible, and because you have the best data possible, you managed to take 80% of market share in the political ad spend market.
Yep. And being in that laser focus vertical also give us ability to function at a less resource capacity, right? So we are, I would say, one of the only company in the DSP market who have raised.
What's DSP mean?
It's a demand side platform.
Okay.
Who have raised less than $1 million in the lifespan of a company, and stayed cash flow positive and made money and made a lot of money.
Yeah. That's awesome, because you know what? Usually you hear the opposite. Everybody wants to raise a ton of money, and scale fast. But what you managed to do is bootstrap through being extremely specific, take over market share, and make a fortune.
Yeah.
Because I remember when you were in CoSire, which was just a digital media company that you did social impact-based stuff, and now to have IQM, it's a world of the difference. You're buying, I saw your new home, your new lifestyle, you're traveling, the family's grown now, the employees have grown, so you've got a ton of employees now. You've clearly built a machine, a business, from being just a regular solopreneur, with Chris too, two entrepreneurs just hustling around to get business. I love that, because it shows when you create a product that people want, when the demand is there, even though it might be seen as small in the eyes of somebody like Trade Desk, you could still build yourself a massive fortune while retaining equity.
Yeah, I think it's all credit goes back to the team. We have some phenomenal people that that are still associated with the company, and they were one of the first hires. And along with Chris and I, they are feeling company as their family and their company, and that's one of the biggest reason for us to be in the business and to do what we are able to achieve over the years. Because if your employee is feeling that you are employer and they are employee, you're not growing.
Yeah.
They have to feel the ownership and be part of the company, that end of the day, they will sleep at night thinking that this is what I've done for my company.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've implemented that sense of ownership in my company too, and It's helped me scale so much over the last year. It's crazy. But
Yeah,
yeah.
look at the market, right? A lot of employees are leaving employers, right? But and that's why the employment rate is higher. Is the lowest? I think it's highest or lowest.
The
I'm not sure.
unemployment rate.
The unemployment rate
Yeah.
is at the lowest. But the employees are becoming partners now.
Yep.
They are starting their new startups, and they understood that they don't want to be an employee anymore.
Yeah.
They want to be the owner. They want to be the partner.
We're in the era of ownership.
Exactly.
Yeah, equity, the era of equity. People want to feel part of something and own a piece of something.
Yeah. That's the next big revolution that we're going to have in the employment world.
Now, how do we make a fortune from it? That's the question.
That's a 1-0-1 question.
That's it. So you see, I agree so much because in real estate, it's easy for me to do that because I do individual projects. So for me to loop in my people, right, my team, it's like my family at this point, they can get equity in those individual deals through working at the company and being part of a flagship fund and investing the money they make in there. They put their money where their mouth is. They know who's managing it. They make it happen, right? Because at the end of the day, without risk, there is no reward. So no matter what anybody does or says, they have to put something up in order to get something back. And because of that, it's easy for me to give a sense of ownership and credibility and, sense of environment, like a real environment, because I have that ability. I feel like it's a little more difficult in a business like yours to do that because you have IQM. It's one company. How do you give people a sense of ownership?
So there are, many ways we structure incentives, right? So the incentives could be in a form of bonuses that they get for certain business performance. Now that business performance has nothing to do with their personal performance as a contribution. So if we as a business do XYZ, we commit to give you 2x, 3x, 5x of your salary as a bonus, right?
Wow.
So now
has somebody gotten 5x their salary as a bonus?
Yes, they have.
That's insane.
Now, that gives them incentive to, basically work as hard as they could because it's a collective goal, not individual goal that we set, for the team that, okay, guys, this is what we need to achieve together. And, as a management or, as a support team, we all work together and try to achieve that goal. And, that has been a great strategy for us to be able to, retain the talent in this time when, like the global talent is getting, 3x, 5x of, their base salaries in countries like India, Ukraine, and so on.
That's fascinating.
And we're lucky to be able to retain, some best talent in those countries, even in this difficult environment.
That's why I loved wrestling, because it's exactly like you just described. I'm one man, I'm one person. I go out there and my performance is what judges what I do moving forward, except my team's performance overall decides on whether my team gets to the next level.
Exactly.
And without the team getting to the next level, you don't end up getting that overall credibility and that team environment, right? And
yeah.
So that's exactly what you just described.
Yeah, life is sports, sports is life.
Exactly. I love that. Now, you just brought up a really good point about outsourced work. These guys are getting, and right before we started, you talked about this. These guys are getting like 5 times their original salary.
Yeah, the globalization after pandemic, hit really hard, and a lot of companies who never hired remote employees now have infrastructure in place to be able to hire those remote employees. And they have reach and access to those candidates who are not sitting next to them, but sitting 11-hour difference time window.
Wow.
So now they are getting the same talent at fraction of the cost, but they are not thinking that talent is a fraction of a cost. Now with the tools and the infrastructure that you you can make them sit next to you, right? You have, Zoom calls, you have, Slack, you have all these platforms that enables those workforce to work along the side and integrate, their time with your time, and make you feel that they're sitting next to you. And at that point, someone sitting in US don't have problem paying the similar salaries that they're paying to the US, a software developer over here in the US versus somebody sitting in India or in China. So now they were, previously getting, the base salary of the Indian standards, which instantaneously after pandemic, raise their base to what people are getting base salaries in America.
Wow.
And for those good talent, there is a great opportunity for them to be in the country where their families are, and focus on the lifestyle that they've been living all their years, and still have the wages of someone sitting in America. So that globalization expedited in past 2 years after pandemic.
So that outsourced employment is a little bit cheaper than American money, except it's much easier. The barrier to entry isn't hard anymore. So people like you can access them with the same talents, if not better, because you don't have those workforce laws that you do here, all of them, right? For a cheaper price, and you don't have to compete as much.
Yeah. That's true.
And you don't have to provide them those benefits like most Americans get.
Exactly. And in a way it's good, in a way it's bad.
Yeah.
But that's where the world is going toward, right? It's like
there's nothing we can do.
There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, we just have to adapt
and
thrive. Otherwise, we get left behind.
Yeah. Globalization is happening, right? You like it or not. It's gonna happen, and it's continuing. It's momentum, and after pandemic, it expedited, right? It's like a lot of people before pandemic, were so attached to the retail. Now they're buying, stuff online, right? So the purchase behavior changed. Like the purchase behavior, your work behavior and your employment behavior is also changing after pandemic.
Yeah. Now let's go back to IQM for a second. You started IQM in 2013, you said.
Yeah.
Year one, how many employees did you have? In-house and outsourced?
Year one, 3.
3. What was your sales in year one?
$8,000.
No way. Real startup style. And what did the bell curve look like? Like how much year over year growth were you seeing?
So we have, like in 2018, so from 2013 to 2018, we made, about $3.6 million in net profit.
Okay.
And
in 5 years.
In 5 years,
Got
right?
it.
So without, like I said, raising money from external sources. From 2018 to 2020, last year we did phenomenal. I don't want to give number because
what were your gross sales? You don't have to tell us the net.
Okay, the gross was about 28 million.
Wow, 28 million in 2020.
In 2020.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and 21, 22, we're going to be doing amazing. I know that.
Yeah, I'm assuming in 24 you're going
in
to...
24, like we have a big election year coming, right?
Yeah.
So Biden presidency is up for re-election. And let's see what happens, right?
But I'm assuming you're anticipating a fortune being poured into that.
Yes. And, I think, customer, put their money with us, thinking we are partners, right? So, like our pricing strategy, our charges with our customers are very transparent. So they know what we make, and, and that's why they trust our platform and our ecosystem and our infrastructure for them to spend ad dollars with us, compared to the platforms like Google, where you really don't know how much Google is making on every dollar you spend on Google.
Yeah.
Right? Because Google is working on ecosystem of platforms within Google, right? So you have Google DFP, you have Google AdX, you have Google AdMob, you have YouTube, you have Google AdSense, and there is a large net of publisher ecosystem where Google buys their ads from. You really don't have traceability on a dollar that gets traveled through all this ecosystem of Google platforms.
Yeah.
And the similar thing is happening even in Facebook, right? You put $1 on Facebook, you don't know where exactly that dollar is
allocated.
Yeah. They have great data. They have great, knowledge on people, which they are monetizing on, and that's what gave them advantage against other platforms, other media companies, to be able to monetize the user data better than other media companies, and over the years they have an advantage over any other media platforms or media companies, because they know a lot about consumer that consumers don't know about themselves, right? So you might have seen all those Netflix documentaries about how all these platforms are collecting data on you and knows more about you than you know
about you.
know about you, right?
Yeah. Now, Bhargav, I don't want to take away from your credibility here, because I personally know you. I have the privilege of being a friend of yours, and you don't have a big social presence, so nobody knows the really cool projects you've done. One of them being that social impact project you created a decade ago, where you provided light to villages that were, like underprivileged communities and villages in India.
Yes. So we did.
And I know about that project. Nobody else knows about that project, or that you were behind it. You're a diverse entrepreneur. So just talk about that specific project. I think it's brilliant.
So I think, in the world of donating, right, there is a lot of social donating, and social donation is happening where you donate and you get an ownership that and say that, hey, I've done this, right? But that's not the true donation that that you have done for the community, right? You are basically branding yourself that you are the donor, right? In the real world, right, if you really want to do something good for the society, right, you gotta look at the core problems of communities, right? So we have done one free project where there was a company, I don't recall their name. They were a very small company where we built and prototype a product for them to be able to gift it out as a responsibility project.
What was that project? That product?
That product was it was it was like a light which has a crankshaft generator attached to it. So you crankshaft that generator, and it lights up the light, and that provides electricity in a form of light to all this underprivileged people who otherwise wouldn't have lights in their homes, right? So,
and how many of those did you guys distribute?
So did about 200,000 in India.
Wow.
That was a long time ago.
Fascinating. See, that's social impact.
Yeah.
You were a philanthropist from your heart rather than a philanthropist for your pocket. And,
I don't want to call it, myself as a philanthropist yet.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a big word, right?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
A lot of people call themselves like a donor or philanthropist or things like that, right?
You're an entrepreneur.
I'm 0 to 1 guy, right? I'm an idea guy. So
I remember when you created that. It was like this little machine that you crank, and then once you crank it enough, it turns on a light, for like 12 hours.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people in those communities would have this light all through the night,
Yeah.
where they generally don't have any lights, and you distributed 200,000 pieces across India that people are still using today, guaranteed, and provides them light to their community. Like that is philanthropy. That's beautiful. I know you don't like the word; it's a heavy word, but that is giving. You know, like you found a solution for a real problem that existed, and you did it for free just to make it happen. Real social impact.
Yeah, I think that's where the world is moving toward, right? The way I look at the entire crypto space, right? It's a movement. It's not it's not a platform, or it's not a business. It's basically a movement of people who are contributing regardless, right? So they don't know whether that particular coin's value gonna go up or down, but there is a large community of developers and software engineers who are smart people, and they are contributing their time in return for some coin which has a zero value today, but hoping that their contribution will make that 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Right? And and that's fascinating. And in crypto, you can literally quantify that 0 to 1. Before crypto, you did not have a platform to quantify whether you 0 to 1 or not. And in the crypto market, right, by tokenizing your project or by putting a value on your project, you see that value growing from 0 to 1. And you see those who are contributing, whether as a miner or whether as app developers who are, developing distributed apps, and like without getting paid, they are doing all these activities, and there's large, amount of developers all around the world are contributing to it, right? So that's a movement that I see, and that's why the crypto market itself, will be a very big frontier.
Brilliant. Bhargav, what investment advice do you have for people listening that have come this far? How can they get involved? How could they do something, make money from the planet you're in?
I think, money is a secondary thing, right? Doing what you love to do is what I would advise people on, right? Whether educating yourself, if that's an option, and if you can afford it, you should definitely invest in educating yourself. And you gotta love it, right? If you don't love educating yourself, then do some street smart activities, right? Some people, they don't like to go to college, or they don't like to educate themselves because they think that they're smarter than others. Now, those individuals, in my opinion, they should invest in other areas where they can develop their expertise and build self-improvement and business out of it. So, one thing that I've seen over the years, entrepreneurs doing is, developing their brand. Now, their brand is not what people see all the time. Brand is, like building your knowledge, building your expertise in whatever makes you happy, right? So your first investment that you should be doing is making you happy, right?
Got it.
And many people say that, okay, buying expensive cars is a bad investment, but if that expense is making that person happy, you should do it.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like you buying a car, and if that gives you the confidence that, hey, like you're something, and every morning you wake up and that gives you and that builds you the confidence, you should do it.
I like that suggestion.
So many people think that car is expense. Maybe for me, it's not an expense. It's an investment, because every day I drive that car, it gives me satisfaction.
Yeah, that gives a different perspective on the
Investment,
other side
right?
of what. Yeah.
So investment, in my opinion, is doing what you love to do, right? So I personally invest in my own ideas, right? So I invest in startups that that are my brainchild, and I also invest in projects where I see there is value, right? So whether whatever I invest in will drive impact,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Bhargav, this was awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. You're the man.
All right.
I hope you enjoyed it.